I don't see the appeal with An Evergreen Christmas. It seems to be pushed a lot at the moment, obviously because it's in run up to Christmas, but it's one that kept getting told to watch, and I thought, right, I relent, I will watch it. Honestly, I do not get the appeal. This was released in 2014 and it's directed by Jeremy Culver and written by Culver and Morgen Culver. And this, I was going to read the description from IMDb, but it's quite long-winded, so I'm going to just summarise it. Evie has to return to her hometown from LA because she gets some really bad news, and she goes there to visit her family and spends time with them, and there are certain things about her that develop. And that's about as much as I can say because nothing happens. I just don't think that there's any substance to this plot. There are some problems affecting the family, especially financially, and the whole family kind of pulls together but also pulls apart as they try and resolve this. It's an interesting narrative. The premise sounded pretty fascinating. I did not care about Evie's life in LA. And that is potentially a problem because, like a lot of Christmas films that deal with this sort of thing, a lot of it's about the protagonist questioning where they came from, why they're no longer seeing their family that often, and what they really value. But for me, I didn't really care about anything to do with her life in LA or indeed her home life. I was just completely uninterested in anything to do with this protagonist. There's nothing wrong with the acting. She's not dislikable. She's perfectly fine, but she's very underdeveloped and not that interesting. Nothing wrong with the acting, just a very, very poorly written character. The rest of the characters are all unmemorable. I don't think any of them are particularly very well written. Nobody stood out as being interesting. I didn't really want to know any more about any of the family members or their dynamic. I wasn't that interested. This is not very Christmassy. It doesn't feel Christmassy for a very large part of it. And the other problem I have with it is that it's very depressive. And it's not sentimental and emotional like a lot of good Christmas films. It's just outright depressive. There's no real light relief. Everybody always seems to be on a downer. I just couldn't get anything out of this. It was for me like getting blood from a stone, as the cliche goes. I tried to find something about this that I thought was good. And as I said, the acting was fine. I have no issues with the acting. Nobody was wooden. But the narrative was poorly executed. The characters were underdeveloped. I feel like the narrative itself was pretty underdeveloped for a lot of it. And I just don't understand. There just seems to be so much jarring between Evie's Hollywood life and her life back home. And it doesn't seem to give an accurate portrayal of that contrast, and I wasn't happy with the portrayal of LA, and it makes it seem like it's a really bad place to be, and it didn't work. It is not a good film. I would not recommend it. I don't understand why it's one that seems to, well, I say it seems to be getting a lot of attention just now. It only has 353 reviews on IMDb, overall rating of 5.8 out of 10. But whenever I log on to Netflix or Prime, I can't actually remember which one I watched it on, it seems to just be saying, watch me, and I did, and I'm not going to say I regret the time having watched it. I never really regret the time spent watching films, because at least then I can form an opinion, but it definitely wasn't the smartest choice, and if you want to watch it, by all means do, and let me know what you think, but personally, I'd say there are 1,000 better Christmas films out there.